Hello Archmages, welcome to a video, first one of me really doing WoW properly outside of the one that I did for whatever previously. I'm about to get into a key, it's going to be a 13 Eco-dome, and I really thought it'd be a good opportunity to just sort of like podcast this a little bit. Obviously I have the podcast based as fuck with my friend Boggy. I'll leave a link to that so you can have a look at it. But while we're running this, I figured I'd just kind of like talk out my head because I've been really enjoying the rework to Spellslinger, and obviously everybody's going to have their opinions about it. At the moment it is looking very, very strong, but I wanted to kind of talk about how it feels in a flow and let you kind of see it in a Mythic Plus environment. Now, I've been running a bunch of different keys, and I haven't really been scoring for key percentage level below like a 98. There's no API out to tell us exactly how to play it. I just kind of worked it out from feel. It's not especially difficult to work out, and I think that's probably point number one of why this feels so good. I apologize if I start like stuttering as we lock in and get up to the point that I'm about to rip it here. But it just feels good. And that's mostly what I want to talk about, because numerical tuning is going to be a thing that Blizzard does all the way through, and that, you know, just is what it is. But feeling is something which is unique. And I think that, you know, that unique feel, the way that a class makes you feel about something, is incredibly important. Especially for the longevity of that particular iteration of the spec. Like, look at the number of times that Shadow Priest has been reworked at this point. You know, if the feel isn't there, then you might lose that thing that, you know, could actually be really, really good. I'm sure that there are plenty of fans of different class iterations. I know that I really enjoyed Season 1 Shaman, and you're probably sitting there like, yeah, no fucking shit, Jay. It was like one of the most powerful things ever. And yes, that had a part of it. I won't say that I'm not a disgusting little meta chaser that loves to see big number go big. Fuck, look at my damage. Since that healer died and I was focused on like keeping myself alive, I did not rip in the same way that I would normally. What a great start. Wait, is this even going? Is this damage? Whatever. But yeah. So one of the things that I think it lost as a spec, Shaman, is that, you know, that sort of skill expression, that flow, that whatever. And I've been very, you know, publicly in favor of, you know, change for the sake of making things better. And I do think that Shaman is actually in a better quote-unquote place than it was in Season 1. Because it, like, everything just kind of flows at the moment. All the abilities go into each other. It's not about just, like, spam Wind Strike and you will just win the game. There is a lot of moving parts to it. It's in a much healthier place, I think, for the meta. Because the other side of it that I really do get is that if another class is languishing, it feels bad when you're not that class. I shouldn't have turned my camera just there. It feels bad when you're not that class, because you are literally not getting as much as somebody else you can see that's getting invited to keys and in raid is just pumping outside their brains, and it just, you know, I fully get the other side of the argument where that can feel bad. And there are probably people feeling like that about Arcane Mage now, but I can tell you very, very confidently that I have seen other classes burst just as hard as Arcane is right now. This is probably the most, like, friendly I have ever seen Arcane Mage to just kind of, like, get into. Let's just deal with this. And I'm sorry, there are probably going to be gameplay mistakes that I've got in here, even though, like, you know, my DPS on this boss is looking good. If I'm making any rotational errors, I apologize. I am not currently versed in talking and Mythic Plusing at the moment. I think that's something that I'll probably get better at if I decide to do this more often. But yeah. So yeah, so in terms of just pure feel, and the main mage in my raid team, Woolly Mammoth, Shooty, we were kind of like, you know, just single messages after our Mythic Reclear the other night. And he messaged me and he's like, I really hope that they keep Spellslinger the way it is. And I just messaged back very simply, dude, same. God, Mushu just jumped off the table and flicked everything behind him. Oh, what a poo bum. And yeah, so like what I'm talking about is just that this feels very intuitive between your Orb Barrage, sending out stuff which gives you charges back, additional charge of Arcane Orb, and this in particular, Splinters reduce the cooldown of Arcane Orb, which means you've got a very like easy flow playstyle, which I appreciate. And I think as long as number tuning is on point, then there's a lot for mage mains here to love and get into. Obviously, there's going to be people that reject the meta for the meta's sake. But I really hope if you're sort of like on the fence, you're not sure if you want to try mage if you're not currently playing it. I think this is probably the second best iteration of mage that I personally have played. Now, what do I mean by that? I started on mage in BFA in Nyalotha. Now, that means I was playing Fire Mage at its absolutely most broken point. I get it. You know, I've been kind of kissed on the dick with right spec, right time, being on like Shaman at its strongest and Mage at its strongest and whatever. And I think this one is also going to turn out... What is this tank doing? Okay. And so, like, yeah, I have been very, very fortunate with the times that I have started playing certain specs. But, you know, I tend to always try and keep myself looking at focusing on how something feels to play rather than just numerically is it doing well. Because I know for a fact that, like, if, say, Beast Mastery Hunter was doing numerically well, I still wouldn't enjoy it. And I can say that very confidently because I have actually walked that talk. In Dragonflight, when Devastation Evoker wasn't doing as good, and I decided to not main that because I like to be useful to a raid team. I like to be able to carry my weight. Okay, let's do that. I actually booted up a Hunter, boosted it for the raid team, and played it for a bit, and I can tell you that I have never enjoyed something less. And I didn't really want to do it anymore because, like, how something feels to play is very important to me. And there's probably a part of that which is like, you know, your class fantasy, your like whether a spec or something resonates with you. I definitely feel this coming from the 40k sort of aspect where like an army can be as broken and overpowered as you want, but if it doesn't fuck with someone, they're never going to play. It's not like you will have to be the biggest meta chaser on the planet where winning is literally all you care about, and it's not to do with do I enjoy it, which is a fair enough way to play. I don't want to act like that's a crime for somebody to go to a tournament and want to win, you know, heaven forbid. But yeah, so all of this is a roundabout way to say that, like, just off feel alone, Mage feels really good right now, at least Arcane Mage. I did enjoy Frost. They did just cop a nerf. I haven't booted up because I've just, you know, it's been 2 days since the patch came out. So I've been spending some time, oh my god, to get away from that. I really want this tank to fucking taunt these things off me. That is probably the biggest thing to worry about on this. With Arcane Mage at the moment, like obviously I've got a relatively geared character. Again, shout out to Wooly for gearing up my ult, my new main, getting ready for next X pack. But once you've got some gear on it and you're doing the rotation properly and you've got good openers and whatever, the amount of threat that you are going to rip off of tanks is honestly disgusting. It is disgusting how much damage I've been doing consistently. And that's pretty cool. He jumped down from the table and like ripped the whole thing back. So like I thought something went wrong and sort of jolted. By the way, I'm just doing a recording, Charlie. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Okay. But, yeah. Everything just going wrong for me to forget where I was up to. Last thing I remember talking about is feel. So, I'll just talk about that. At the moment, there's a lot with the spec that just flows. And that's really cool. That's all I really need in a spec, is just for it to feel good pressing buttons, for it to be intuitive when, you know, X thing looks like it should be used, X thing is used, and that's really cool. Please get that healer up. B-res him, B-res him, B-res him. All right, cool. Well, let's see if we can do this. I think we've stabilized. Fuck, I lost my place again just because of that. But yeah, so you can kind of see that, like, even distracted right now, it's been relatively intuitive to press your buttons. There's a lot of flow to how the spec operates, and I think that's sort of the best design space that we could. Don't put me in it, you fuckwit. Oh, God. I'm not a really a flamey sort of guy, but there is some stuff that just, like, strikes me as, like, wanton ignorance. Like, you just actually don't care if you tag me with stuff. But yeah, so, like, working this spec out and, you know, finding out where I'm gonna... Why didn't that rogue use any of his defensives? I'll have to check back the footage. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. Let's chuck on an ice cold. See, like, I cycled defensives there and really didn't have a problem living that. That's also something that a lot of people have brought up with Mage. Like, we lost a lot of our utility. There's a lot of defensive spells that went out the window, and yeah, that sucks. The spec still feels good, at least to me. 30%, I think I will rip it here. There's another thing, and Boggy and I were sort of talking about, like, what we want to do for the podcast next. And I was sort of talking about micro decision making. I shouldn't have sent it there. I shouldn't have sent it there. I'm still kind of finding the limits of the spec. When to properly, like, send cooldowns, how much burst I'm actually going to have. Because the previous iteration we had on Sun Fury was like, you know, you build up to this mass barrage spam. And so that had very, very different timings. And so I'm still kind of finding this one out. It's not going to be too hard. It's, again, been a day and a half. But, yeah. Interested to see how all of you are feeling about Mage if you've been playing it and, you know, looking at the Spellslinger rework. Let's rip this. But yeah, have you been coming to the same conclusion? Because I think that, you know, it's not like the rest of the Mage stuff is dead. I will end up playing Frost and Fire. As much as Fire is, like, my first love of Mage, I don't think I'm going to play it until I know that it's in a little bit of a better state. Because, again, Fire with feel is off. One of the things I used to love about Fire is that it had a very, very good flow. It had built-in cooldown reduction, which felt good to pull off and do properly. There was a lot to love within the spec and express skill within the spec that I think is probably one of the examples of, like, you know, if somebody wants to make an argument for the Midnight Pruning, not... Holy shit. Okay, we're just going to invis that off. And then let's do that. Again, threat is your worst enemy on this rework, because you have a lot of burst. And like, it's very likely that I'm playing with tanks that are just kind of playing suboptimally. And that's something that I've noticed. I said to Boggy that I feel like the new Arcane is exposing a lot of fraud tanks. And it's not to throw shade at people. It's not to, like, shit on people. But just, like, it is something very, very consistent I've been noticing. That, I was on 20 stacks there. That was bad. Something very consistent I've been noticing, that tanks have been struggling to keep threat when I'm in my flow. Which is, you know, a great place to be in if you're a big fan of big damage. Fuck, I don't have anything to drop threat here. Let's hope I can. Oh, let's go back through the tank. So, if ever you've been having trouble with threat, blink through the tank. It makes the mob walk through them, and so if they're just kind of idling doing AoE abilities, it will force them to get hit by the tank's abilities. or just make the tank aware of it because they might not be looking in that direction. So I always find running it back through the tank is the best way to guarantee that you don't just fucking die. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of rambling during this run. I know that commentary over gameplay isn't people's favorite thing to do. Let me know if you actually enjoyed my random ass thoughts and my random, talking about specs and whatever. What does he want here? Oh, okay, I didn't even know that was the thing. I've never had anybody try and activate that, not even once. Oh, he's holding threat on this one well. That's really good. But yeah, let me know if you're a fan of something like this. Obviously, for people that, have never watched any of my stuff, there's no way for you to know if you like me or my content or my personality, which, fair enough. If you are sort of curious, I haven't done a ton of WoW stuff, but I find that there's a decent amount of overlap between, well, any sort of nerd culture and other things. I am mostly known for Warhammer 40,000. I'm a very highly ranked tournament player. I do coaching, I do whatever else. Main Tau for the longest time, but I've been doing Eldari, Space Marines, Votan, Grey Knights, a little bit of everything. I've been trying to learn everything in the game. But yeah, there will be some more WoW stuff coming, so if you're enjoying it, obviously do the internet things and like and comment and whatever, or don't. I'm not your dad. But you can just kind of see from the gameplay that this rework has the vibe of a chill Arcane Mage playstyle on point. And that's not something I can actually say with any regularity about Arcane. It has very commonly been the most difficult Mage spec to play because it's got a lot of moving parts, it's got a lot of micro decisions that you've got to make. And this is the most chill version of Arcane I've ever done. Especially because your AoE and your single target are exactly the same. Exactly the same. Which is kind of cool. I am a big fan of... I know that, this did exist before with, Fire Mage, and I think maybe that's why I enjoyed Fire Mage a lot. I could just pump into a target, not have to worry about target swapping and... nameplate bullshit and whatever, which was great. At the point that I was playing it, I was developing my skills, moving up to mythic content, and so not having to worry about that and just picking a target and laying into it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It really was. And there is that simplicity in this because I can just have a priority target and throwing my balls at them will just do the damage that I need it to do. Which again, really cool. Should have had arcane charges for the target swap on Evoke Spirit, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. The 13 in pre-patch is not the same as it was beforehand. Realistically, I can do much, much higher keys regularly. At the moment, I am just looking at getting the crest to fill out my gear, which I kind of hate that they didn't just unlock our crests for pre-patch. They don't matter anymore. Let people play classes and do whatever else. I'm just going to get my mana back up here. He's going to be pulling down a boss, so I don't need help with this. But yeah, just let us max out the characters with relatively no friction. And yeah, the gear acquisition is already difficult enough. Getting a fully geared out myth track character, I am very, very fortunate that I have an excellent raid team that is still clearing Mythic Maniforged Omega. They're getting mounts for people, they're, trying to close off all that stuff, and also have, and this is something that I love that Sov has been putting a focus on, is class fluency before the next expansion. Because it isn't something that, a lot of people will even think about, that you don't just pick up a new spec and absolutely slap on it. Yeah, chill. He's been a poo bum. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So we're going to have Mushu in here with us, who's a little bit upset because, well, I mean, with everything going on at the moment, we haven't been able to play with him as much as we would like and take him on regular walks and that sort of stuff. But, yeah, he's taken it a little bit out. And he also doesn't like that because we have a son now, he's not the only child in the house. He has to share the limelight. He has to share his dad, which he's not happy with. Holy shit, I'm on 70k DPS and I wasn't paying attention to the meters at all. I expected to look down because I've been focusing on talking rather than anything else. I expected to look down and have, like, Z DPS. But I guess that just kind of solidifies my point. The flow is just there. It's just there, you know? Like, really, hats off to Blizz. This Spellslinger rework feels good. And as long as numerically it's in a healthy state, then I think mages have got to be very, very happy. But, yeah. Obviously, I didn't talk a ton about, you know, the individual dungeon and the mechanics and everything else. I probably will do another recording where I actually focus on little micro decisions that I'm making, but I wanted this one to be a bit more of a, like an intro to me, and, you know, give myself a little bit of an opportunity to get used to talking at the camera while doing this, because I haven't done this a lot where I actually have to kind of lock in and I want to be a big boy. So, champion track, Wooey? Okay, cool. It's cloth, so maybe Warlock. We ended that one. Let's have a look at the logs. There's my Eco-dome. And here we go. And you can see we passed that at a 99 for key percentage, which is pretty good. I don't know why my computer makes things like continually go blurry. I think it is just the monitor. My recording software isn't showing blur, which means I need to look at my monitor and what it's doing. But anyway, lot of random talking, a lot of preamble. I do love my Yap. It's one of the parts of the podcast that I really, really like. But yeah, that was the 13 Eco-dome Aldani. I have a lot more to say about the Mage rework, but at the very least, I think that it has just nailed a bit of simplicity, AoE and single target, rather than just the classic funnel that Arcane's been doing. And yeah, really enjoyed it. So yeah, see you in the next one.